noise. Look at that.
Record this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is it coming back this way? Hello?
I don't know.
This is strange.
Yes, it is.
It's not supposed to fall like this. Paul, I think we're seeing something not good. That's coming back toward us. What the fuck? When they say so.
Well, you're getting it on video, so that was not a nice thing. No, the engines are still going. So.
Huh? But what is this thing that's forming? Is this part of the plan?
No, I've never seen it like this. I saw a lot of fragments and stuff. I see fragments coming off the thing. No, there's something wrong. Something wrong. There's fragments coming off of it. Yeah, we're going to hear something. Look at this. It's going to go behind that cloud. Oh boy.
Oh, just got. Huh?
Yep.
Even I did.
Wow.
Tyranny of the rocket equation. What is the tyranny? If you have a rocket, its design hinges on a momentum balance that we call the rocket equation. And the rocket equation involves the magnitude of the gravity field that you are navigating in, which basically says where do you want to go. And you have to have propellant, right, because you got a rocket. And the propellant gets its energy from chemical bonds. So these two things that human beings have almost zero control over, the magnitude of gravity and the energy and chemical bonds, constitutes what I call the tyranny of the rocket equation, because it holds a strong grip on how we can make our rockets. Okay, so you have a rocket. You can see my little picture of a rocket. There's two things that are really, really important about the rocket. One, the rocket velocity. This is how fast your rocket is going to go. And then the exhaust velocity. That's how fast your propellant is going to squirt out the nozzle. And these two things, these two velocities, are inputs into this rocket equation, which is a momentum balance. And you turn the crank, and out from the rocket equation comes the mass percent of your rocket that has to be propellant. And you can't deviate from that or your rocket won't get to where it's supposed to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to independently look at the rocket velocity, then we're going to independently look at the exhaust velocity. We'll plug them into the rocket equation and calculate what the mass percent of your rocket has to be. So where do you want to go? Well, we're going to start on Earth, so you are here, right? And I think we we are all here, except for a few of the presenters that presented earlier today. They're already in space. But we are here, and you want to go someplace out there. Well, where is out there? There's orbit, there's the moon, there's Mars, there are places between the Earth and the moon. We call it the Earth-Moon cis space. And there's Lagrange points. There can be asteroids. There could be geostationary orbit. So pick where you want to go. Do your physics for navigating in that gravity field, and out comes your rocket velocity that you have to obtain or you won't get there. And I put some of those on there. To go from Earth to Earth orbit takes 8 kilometers per second. That's around 17,500 miles an hour. So you really got to go fast. Now, to get to moon takes 14. To get to Mars takes 16. So just think about this. Going from Earth surface to Earth orbit takes half, sometimes more than half, of the velocity required to go anywhere else you may want to go. So perhaps the giant leap for mankind was not the first step on the moon, but going from the surface of Earth into Earth orbit. Now, let's look at our choice for propellants. And this defines the exhaust velocity because the energy in the propellant comes from the chemical bonds and it goes squirting out the nozzle, so you got the velocity. And I've chosen a class of around 4 different kinds of propellants, ranging from solid rocket to kerosene, oxygen, hypergols. If you oxidize, you mix them together, they spontaneously combust. I had a friend of mine who he would always describe his latest relationship with his girlfriend as hypergolic. And then we have good old hydrogen oxygen, which turns out to be one of the more energetic chemical reactions we could use. And these are all chosen from real rockets that we could take real payload and real human beings into orbit right now. And there's the exhaust velocities. Read it and weep, because that's all you can get right now from chemistry. So let's take those now. Let's go from the surface of Earth into low Earth orbit, 8 kilometers per second. We're going to choose a variety of rocket propellants, plug them into the rocket equation. All the chalk dust is going to fall, and here is the result. Okay, look at that. Mass percent propellant. They're all around 90%. That means your rocket sitting on a launch pad, 90% of it is propellant, and 10% of it is everything you think of as the rocket.
What kind of power-up is that? Kakarot's learned how to reach the power of a Super Saiyan God, and this is the Super Saiyan version of that. A super... Wait, what now?
We have ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 1, 0. And we have a liftoff. The Skylab lifting off the pad now, moving up. Skylab has cleared the tower. Houston is now controlling. Mark, 18 seconds, pitch and roll program started. Saturn now maneuvering to its proper flight path attitude. Mark, 25 seconds.
It's a dog-eat dog world. It's a dog-eat dog world. Me, I'm in the myrtle. I'm just trying to keep some calm nerves. Propaganda just like clockwork. Niggas panic just like clockwork. I'm just chilling in the myrtle. With the crazies and their mobsters. It's all about they dialer. It's all about they dialer. This shit feels just like the Hunger Games. Put your family and your squad first. You more likely to get ride first. Especially if you ballin' like they dyers. Hope you loaded up that Moshberg. 50 cal make you straighten up your posture.
11 nautical miles in altitude, 5 nautical
Colonel
miles
Lamar?
in range, velocity now reaching 3,300.
I'm always overwhelmed by that, even by the fact that there weren't any men on board today. That makes it kind of different
1 minute,
from what we've seen in the
45
past. But that's the first time you've seen one of those big babies go.
That's right. That's got to be the most awe-inspiring sight I've ever seen in my life. That is something tremendous.
Do you believe men went to the moon, Jim?
Yes, I believe it. I sure do. But I sure would like to have been here to see it. Golly.
You missed the whole bit, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You didn't learn about our landing on the moon until months later.
Well, about 5 months later, that's right. And I learned about it in a kind of a peculiar way, but it was a real thrill when I did.
Well, I hope that we have even better weather tomorrow for you so that you can see that thing arc up there. It kind of was lost in the clouds today. Weren't you impressed by the force, the shock wave coming across that cape? You know, we're some miles away from it.
Of course I was. And not only that the wave began, but that it continued for so long after the rocket was there.
Yeah. And they make it seem so easy, don't they?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Just like child's play, but just think of the amount of work that went into it.
Oh, yeah, that's what's so overwhelming. Colonel, you're going to go back to flying, too,
Yes,
aren't you?
sir, you bet I am.
Can't wait to get back in the air.
First stage
Thanks so
shutdown.
much. Thanks so much. What's that?
Mission control has just confirmed first stage shutdown on schedule, on the money, and second stage is igniting.
Good.
Good all the way so far.
I'm having trouble keeping this thing in my ear here.
And that's dictated by this tyrannical equation called the rocket equation. Now, this is a pretty simplistic approach. It's almost a naive approach, something that you do as a freshman in physics class. But real rocket scientists, or really, I should say, rocket engineers, sharpen their pencils and let's see what real rockets can do. And there's the Saturn V, the Space Shuttle, and Soyuz. 3 working real rockets. Notice, 85 to 90% propellant for real rockets. That means 15 to 10% of everything else is the rocket. And part of that has to be the payload, which adds meaning to your mission. And so the payload that you could take in a rocket is around 2%. So 2% of everything you see on the rocket ends up being a freight that you can deliver FOB to orbit. Now, let's look at the implications to design. I mean, engineers have to design these things. And I've taken a couple classes of vehicles we're all used to. Let's look at surface vehicles. Okay, and I've taken the Queen Mary, my pickup truck, and a locomotive. And these things are all less than 10% propellant. They can have high payload capability. 60% of the mass of these things can be payload. And they're made out of billets of steel. And they're robust. Now, let's look at aviation, airplanes. 30 to 40% propellant, up to 40% payload capability. These are truly lightweight structures made out of aluminum, made out of epoxy graphite composite, sometimes titanium. You got to roll your engineering nickels around when you get to airplanes, and you just can't wantonly drill a hole through some part of the structure because you want to bolt on a new bracket or something like that. You got to do your engineering when you get into something that's 30 to 40% propellant. Now, look at rockets. They're not even in that category. 85% propellant, 2% payload. Rockets are on the edge of our engineering ability to even make and also pay for. And I put another category of devices. They're called explosive devices. And there's a Molotov cocktail. And so rockets are closer to explosive devices than they are any other kind of vehicle that we're used to traveling in. And if the energy involved in using a rocket gets released in any other way that it was designed, its result is similar to that of an explosive device. So now, we know where we're going. We've got our rocket built. A corollary question to the rocket equation is, what are you going to do once you get there? And gone are the days of going into space and coming back and saying, what a good boy am I. We have to go into space and we have to do something meaningful. And to do something meaningful means you got to bring payload. You got to bring something there, science equipment, whatever. You got to bring stuff with you, and that allows you to do a meaningful expedition. And so it got me thinking about the mass, because the mass of payload that you could take with a rocket is so vanishingly small. It's almost just the rocket itself because of the tyranny of the rocket equation. So I started to look at the mass that you could bring on a meaningful expedition, and I broke it into two kinds: sophisticated mass. This is stuff like computers, life support, power generation, electronics, all this kind of stuff. And then there's mass that I call dumb mass. This stuff: air, water, propellant, cement, bricks, things that are needed by simply their bulk chemical composition or their physical properties. And then you look at a couple of different kinds of missions. You could look at exploration missions, sorties, where you go someplace, come back. Or you could look at building an outpost, where you cumulatively build new capability with time. And what you'll find is that it requires orders of magnitude, factors of 10 more dumb mass than sophisticated mass. So this might have some implications with the rocket equation. Now, when I was thinking about where to put the crew in this category, I wasn't quite sure which category the crew might go in. So this brings me to my final slide. The tyranny of the rocket equation. It involves the magnitude of gravity and the energy and chemical bonds which hold this tyrannical grip on our ability to even make rockets. And it's very difficult to even leave Earth, and it's particularly so to leave Earth with significant payload. If the magnitude of Earth's gravity were slightly larger, you could reach a point where we couldn't even get off the planet using rockets. So the question that I'd like to plant in all of you guys and gals' minds is something to do with rethinking rockets. Is there some other way to get off of Earth without using a rocket? Hence, you could break the tyranny of the rocket equation. Or, if we're not clever enough to think of an answer, and we have to use rockets, could we minimize the tyranny simply by we don't bring our dumb mass? Thank you.
All right, 2 minutes left till the launch. 2 minutes. Here we go. What do you girls think is going to happen? We got 1.5 minutes.
Wow, what is all that? Smoke.
Here it goes. It's happening.
You're hearing the people talk inside the space shuttle and then in the space station. Talking back and forth to each other. They're making sure everything's clear for liftoff.
I'm so excited. All right, girls. Guess what?
What?
There's 1 minute left.
VC verified.
Write it down, Mama. This is steam. It's letting off some of the heat, I think.
It's cooling down. I think it's cooling down. That's what's going on. Ooh, look at that. What do you think is going to come out at the bottom there?
Fire.
Yeah, fire. And with all that, it's going to launch it way up in the sky. String. This launches string from our iPhone to our television.
Mommy.
Okay.
30 seconds, Eleanor.
There we go. We have 18 seconds left. Here we go. You ready? Let's do a countdown. Are you ready?
Yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The fire?
Oh, it didn't launch.
What do you mean?
That didn't work.
Why?
I don't know. They're gonna come on and explain it, I think. My heart was pounding.
I like this box. How was he go over? Why do we just here? Something was off. Look at it. Look at it.
If I was you, I would be scared too. News angles is the feds too. The sky's falling now. Guess it's time to put a parachute. Yeah, it's your dog eat dog world. It's your dog eat dog world. Me, I'm in the myrtle. Trying to keep some calm nerves. Propaganda just like Clydeworth. Nigga panic just like Clydeworth. I'm just chillin' in the myrtle. By the crazies and the mobsters. This might get a little awkward. This the section where they plot turn. Been told you about the cover up. I been told you about the watchers. They wanna turn us into monsters.
Means they're ready to turn off those big 430,000-pound boosters. They've done their job. They've gotten them up that high. Now the second stage, 100,000 pounds of thrust will take over in about another 10 seconds. We should see that staging.
Coming up on staging, 2 minutes, 25 seconds. We've got staging.
We've got a report on staging, but we didn't see it. There it is now.
Sure, I'll call it. The thrust looks good on stage 2.
Sounded like that staging report was just a little bit early.
There will be a momentary hold at T-minus 19 when we press the ignition switch. T-minus 17 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Holding momentarily at 4. We have ignition.
And I'll lift off right on the button. Right on the hour.
There again goes that fiery plume of the Atlas. We haven't seen such a spectacular takeoff in the manned space program since Atlas boosted the Mercury astronauts aloft. Now Atlas, the workhorse of the missile fleet, putting that Agena up into orbit. It looks like a perfect flight. So far, the takeoff has been perfect. This has to be a perfect one. That Agena has to reach an altitude of 185 miles on a perfect circular orbit. It can be corrected by its onboard guidance machinery a slight amount, but basically it's got to go into a good orbit if this rendezvous is to be achieved today. We'll know that about 10 minutes from now when this rocket is going into orbit there over Bermuda. Here is our super long-range camera.
Just couldn't be finer.
Vaccinate you second. Desensitize your heart turn. Have you ever watched Purge? Effects are subtle, but the outcome is a lie. Words. Psychopath, schizophrenia. Watch us kill each other unbothered. They treat us like a louse herd. We run a new age thinkers and philosophers. But every guru ain't 1,000. Watch out for imposters. It's a dog eat dog world. It's a dog eat dog world. Me, I'm in the murder. Trying to keep some calm.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, plus 1.
Liftoff of the first flight of the Delta IV Heavy rocket, launching a new area partnership with Space Access from the United States Air Force.
Yeah, I don't care who listening, I find it kinda sickening. We send billions to Israel, but shit on Flint, Michigan. A country founded off of immigrants. Now we wanna build a wall to keep out all the immigrants. What you witnessing? Military exercises demonstrated on citizens. Anti-war petitioning, drone strike incoming. Homeless vets decorating the street, can't get no income in. How do you save a world that can't be saved? How do you raise a child that won't behave? Preach. Waking up from the lies, I feel betrayed. I'm guessing the rabbit hole we dug was actually just a grave. Skeletons in the closet, they fossilized. Niggas want the truth, sugar-coated and caramelized. Life is like a science fiction book where the author dies. Why I ain't dead yet? Cause the head ain't been authorized. I hear freedom ringing, but I won't answer the phone. Cause the people on the other end will not leave us alone. Mr. Officer, I come in peace. Just know I brought my peace. And if we can't settle this peacefully, the violence will increase. Yeah, I don't condone racial divide. I won't be cloned, I will survive. I walk alone, look in my eye. So give me justice, give me peace, or give my freedom back at least, so we can meet up in the street, you decide.
Who you bow to, elected councils, full of scoundrels who now rule the world around you while wearing house shoes. They clown you, you in your house, all your whole house full. Regimes don't die, they change their name and the accounts move. Life goes on with or without you. Words fall on deaf ears, I think they soundproof. The sound of justice makes us cringe, but how could we stand the sound? You can't even stand your ground. A noose around your neck, the sharpest minds will cut it down. Caught inside the web, the internet is tightly wound. Every day 100K, feel more like a couple thou. What's $1 to a pound? What's a pound to the crown? Look, ayy, I'm sick of waiting, man, this flag I'm sick of waving. No more participating, time to form my own nation. You call that integration, I call it discrimination. They say it's risk I'm taking, I call it decision making.
I hear freedom ringing, but I won't answer the phone. Cause the people on the other end will not leave us alone. Mr. Officer, I come in peace, just know I brought my peace. And if we can't settle this peacefully, the violence will increase. Yeah, I don't condone racial divide, I won't be cloned, I will survive. I walk alone, look in my eyes.
And with 4 minutes and 37 seconds to go to launch on Apollo 16, the countdown continues to proceed absolutely perfectly.
32 seconds and counting, and swing arm number 9 is now swinging back to the full retract position.
We're just hearing that the swing arm is hauling right back away from the rocket, ready for launch.
Leading off these final positions, preparation for launch.
And at this point, of course, that the Department of Defense people come into their own. The helicopters, the ships, the salvage craft, the fire crews, the radar technicians, the swimmers with their special suits, new ones, different kinds of wetsuits in case the crew do have to go down into the ocean just after launch.
3 astronauts, and said that the Apollo 16 launch team wishes them good luck and Godspeed. They all replied thank you, and we're now have a quiet circuit as we move down through the count at the T-minus 17 second mark. We'll get a release of the guidance system in the instrument unit. Also handled by the automatic sequencer will be the release of swing arms number 1 and number 2. The ignition of the Saturn V 5 engines, the first stage 5 engines. 12, 11, 10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engine's now building up to 7.7 million pounds of thrust. We have a launch commit and we have a liftoff. The swing arms moving back. The Saturn V lifting off the tower. Alpha pad building up thrust. We clear the tower.
Clearly in court videos don't prove much. Wise news cameras in the courtroom, huh? Even if it's just a game, I hear the signal louder. I think I got the message, they don't really care about us.
I hear freedom ringing, but I won't answer the phone. Cause the people on the other end will not leave us alone. Mr. Officer, I come in peace, just know I brought my peace. And if we can't settle this peacefully.
And the sound is just beginning to hit us.
36 seconds, roll program completed, pitch profile still in progress. That call out from Capcom Gordon Fullerton says Apollo 16 now capable of water landing. Mark 1 minute 12 seconds, coming up on period of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle.
They're already over the speed of sound.
1 minute 22 seconds, 6 nautical miles in altitude, looking good. Mark 1 minute 30 seconds, 8 nautical miles in altitude. Mark 1 minute 41 seconds. Pass through max Q, still looking good.
Through max Q, and everything looks good.
The period of maximum pressure on the spacecraft, max Q.
Miles in altitude. Young Duke Mattingly moving out to the outer traces of the Earth's atmosphere.
Stand by for mode 1, Charlie. Roger, Mark 1, Charlie.
Mark 2 minutes 3 seconds. A status check and mission control by Flight Director Gene Kranz. A go, no go for staging. Coming up on center engine shutdown.
Center engine shutdown.
You're aboard, your go for staging.
Ready for staging, any?
Shutdown on time. 2 minutes 28 seconds, 26 nautical miles in altitude, 32 nautical miles downrange.
10 seconds of shutdown. Separation.
2 minutes 35 seconds.
Should really see it blow.
2 minutes 40 seconds, coming up on staging.
And there she goes. The crowd here cheering.
Ignition on the S2. Roger.
5,600 miles an hour and about 100 miles downrange away from us.
CMC is go.
Roger. Mark 3 minutes 45 seconds. Apollo 16 now 62 nautical miles in altitude, 135 nautical miles downrange. Apollo 16 now 33 feet shorter and 9,000 pounds lighter.
Those men there in the firing room,
now for its mission.
watching every single figure for any sign of malfunction at this stage.
Everything looks great down here. Everything looks good up here, too.
And everything looks great, a report there.
Mark 4 minutes 10 seconds. 70 nautical miles.
Look at that water going on the pad I was telling you about before. 40,000 gallons a minute, cooling the pad down from the effect of that tremendous jet of flame as they lifted off there.
Was it a kind of, a sort of tendency towards instability on peaks? That's the bloody thing. Jesus Christ. We've had, right through Nixon in China, we had this problem on all our B circuits out of New York. God in heaven, give me patience with these bloody carriers. I hope they're listening. There was one day in that China thing where we had 4 B circuits in the day and every one had the same bloody fault on it.
Well, that's fine. We'll just tell news that we're staying at the site, and when we move from the site, we'll again tell news. We have not been drinking, baby. We have been here since before 5 a.m. and we are a little hot and a little tired. Whoa, rhubarb, rhubarb. Maggie. We're certainly not drunk. That's one thing we're not.
But it's terrible now, is it? Hold on, I'll give you Dick.
April 19th. The burn into lunar orbit was right on.
Oh, Houston, Sweet 16 has arrived.
The subsequent maneuvers all went without a hitch. Then the next day, April 20th, Young and Duke undocked the lunar module preparatory to landing, leaving Mattingly in the command module.
But we got it done right here 5 behind him, and we're sailing free. 1, stand by 1, Jim. Okay, we're on.
The next maneuver was for Mattingly to burn the main engine of his spacecraft to put it into a circular orbit. But as the lunar module emerged from behind the moon,
walk like us, but they are not like us. On the weekday, you can see the signs, you can see the signs. Don't be surprised on the weekday. Read between the lines, read between the lines. They wear the disguise, look into the mind's eye. There's nowhere to hide. Don't stay cold eyes. Whispers from afar. We know who you are. Windows to the stars. What a ride, what a ride. That's dumb. Why fall in love? That's dumb. I don't wanna go get lunch. I'm just tryna fuck dick dumb. 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 That's dumb. D-U-M-B, that's dumb. Forges on the coupe, that's dumb.
I'd like to ask, if I may. When you were carrying out that incredible moonwalk, did you find that the surface was equally firm anywhere, or were there harder and softer spots that you could detect? And secondly, when you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any.
9 steps are what you take, walking on the moon. I hope my legs don't break, walking on.
This time I'd like to introduce the Apollo 11 crew. Astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin.
Bob, what the hell you doing? What the fuck does Stanley Kubrick have to do with astronauts and movement? Who the hell you fooling? Fuck you and this whole stupid flat earth movement. Well, you don't like assuming if it's science proven. You a college student, shouldn't be assuming green screen, sound stage, soundproofing. Time to film a movie shoot. Gotta use my tools in a glass case, astronaut suit, footprint don't match the boot. Been to the moon once and ain't been back since. And I'm just trying to figure out where the tax dollars went. NASA.
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to God on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Okay. If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you so you don't leave me alone.
I don't
Tomorrow, another day, you stay. Walking on.
Well, I take your stuff and get the fuck out.
Not a huge fan of the award for the best rapper, but they give the Moon Man award to the best actor. Guess we must go straight to the source. Let's ask NASA. How do you explain the occurrence of lunar waves? Why do we only see one half of the lunar face? How do you explain air bubbles you view in space? Why is it so important to lie to the human race? Million-mile internet that travels light years, but they can show a space shuttle re-enter the atmosphere. Okay, to blast off, you gotta practice Freemasonry, an acronym that stands for not a space agency.
Some may say, I'm wishing my days away. No way. And if it's the price I pay, some say, tomorrow's another day. You say, walking on the moon.
Now put your hand on the Bible. Swear to God you walked on the moon.
Well, Mr. Cybro, knowing you, that's probably a fake part.
Where do you want any ignition? And liftoff. Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance.
A rocket launch from Cape Canaveral caused quite a commotion in southwest Florida this morning. The smoke trail from the Atlas V rocket created quite an unusual plume in our skies. We received dozens of pictures and videos from our viewers. Do we have image? There it is. That's the image I'm talking about. Did you see it this morning? People looked up in the sky and saw this from Naples to Port Charlotte. They emailed, called us, wanted to know what was going on.
Had the National Weather...
Chemtrail clouds on sleep though. Acid rain down on sleep though. Fluoride water on sleep though. New world order on sleep though. Diabetes soda on sleep though. Clone and modified beef though. Heavy metals all in drink though. Wi-Fi cook a nigga in the sleep though. Put him in it. 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 FEMA coffin. Yeah. People watching. Yeah. Count sheet. Yeah. Niggas sleepwalking. All these dead riders. Well, it rain about it. Laws ain't talking about shit. But baby mamas. You don't wanna stir the pot, you don't wanna detox, you don't sleep though. You ever heard of Basquiat? You don't want a Tupac, you want love and hip hop, I don't sleep though. Cops taking cheap shots all week though. False flag headlines all week though. Chalk outline on the street though. I'm just trying to make it out in one piece though.
I wonder if it's gonna hit us. No.
I don't think the rocket's supposed to do.
Yeah, rockets are not supposed to do that.
That looks really, really pretty.
Yeah. Look at feathers. Cool. Yeah, it's so cool.
Maybe the clouds. The freaking clouds.
Mama. We need the sandwich.
That is weird.
Yeah, I think. I want to have back of it falling down.
It's just freaking illuminating the entire sky.
I think it's falling really down.
Okay,
I think it's floating
behind
away.
that cloud. I'm actually going to say what it says in the news about that.
What happened to it? It's pushing away.